Alright guys, welcome to the third episode of the Amazon Nomads podcast. Tom, where are you? That looks like a very interesting location. Is that a palm tree?
That is a palm tree, and if you want to know, I'm right now in a villa in Ibiza. Look, there's the villa, and if anyone watches on the YouTube channel, you can see it. That's probably the only good reason to watch on the YouTube channel. That's it. I'm in Ibiza on the island. I was in Orlando last week, and this week I'm now in Ibiza. Next week, perhaps with timing, I'll be in Barcelona.
I never knew there's palm trees in Ibiza though. I thought it'd have to be hotter.
My God, there's like no
palm
trees in
are
Las
surprisingly,
Vegas.
they're surprisingly resilient. They can actually survive in very cold environments, contrary to popular opinion or Gavin's opinion.
How come there's none in the UK then?
It's not hot.
No,
enough.
there are somewhere.
There probably are. Yeah, I thought people have them. People have them in their gardens.
They genuinely are. Yeah.
Mate, I've only ever seen palm trees in Mexico and on like Zoo Tycoon or Theme Park.
Mate, you need to travel more. Theme Park Tycoon. That doesn't really
Get
count,
in there,
does it?
Tom.
I've been looking at magazines, not seen a
PC
palm tree
game,
yet.
right?
It is. I've played that.
Seth, where are you?
I would show you where I am, but because the sun's set now, I obviously can't show you the beautiful view that I'm living in, and I'm just currently in a very weak Wi-Fi setup in Greece, but I'm in the third largest island of Greece. Flights have only just started to go here this year, I think, from Stansted Airport, which is kind of closest to where I am, not in London, but... So I'm spending 2 weeks here, under the impression that I could have left within a week if I wanted to, but turns out there's no flights back, so I'm stuck here for another week, which makes me sound quite ungrateful, but I was kind of hoping to go home tomorrow just so that I can go back and be a bit more productive, but here we are. I'm in Lesbos for another week, but it is beautiful. It's just there's not very much to do here and the Wi-Fi is not very good, so what can you do? But
Okay.
Gav, you're living in a hotel at the moment. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I am just testing it out, living in a hotel. I'm here for 30 days. The idea behind it is that I don't have to clean the room. They come and make your beds every single day, and you get breakfast every morning, so it's maximum convenience. But the thing is, they don't really come and clean the beds every day. It's like every 2 or 3 days. So the service isn't as good as what I was expecting. It was like, what, $1,100 for an entire month? So maybe I went for a bit of a cheap hotel. But what's weird is when I'm sleeping, or like a car goes by, like a heavy car, the building sways from left to right. I'm like, shh, in bed, just moving about.
I'd be worried about that. But no, it's a good topic of convenience.
No,
right?
it's good.
Because I've been thinking when I'm in, it is good, right? Because it gives you more time to like make money. But when people don't have a cleaner, for example, I feel like it's a low value skill that you should be outsourcing. Because I don't want to spend 2 hours cleaning my flat unless you enjoy it. Right, in London, I'd rather pay £50 because in those 2 hours, I'm sure that I can find a way to at least make more than £50 or build on like things I'm working on that are going to produce that in the future, right? But I don't know what your opinions on that are, guys.
I'm thinking it's £50 for a cleaner. It's like £8 in Mexico or cheaper.
Well, we're in London,
You're in the wrong place,
but
mate.
still, it's still convenience, and I'm still getting a value add on that, right? What do you think, Tom?
I get your argument. I understand exactly what you're saying, but I think if you're going to test it, then the answer, like, if you were to test what you're saying is true or not, then what you would be saying is the fact that for every minute you're awake, you'll be working, and because without the cleaner, you've got to stop 2 hours early to do the cleaning. But like I promise you, like even I like to think I work pretty hard. Like there's still times where I sit there and do nothing. Like so, I think also as well, there's an element of you only have a certain amount of mental headspace and decisions you can make in a day, and sometimes we do just want to watch Netflix, and that's called our relaxation time. And like even if we were going to work, let's call it 15 hours, and then do 2 hours of Netflix and sleep. And I know the math doesn't really work very well, but if I had to cleaning, I could only work 13 hours, then I have to do 2 hours of cleaning and then 2 hours of Netflix. So, like, I do kind of agree, and I have a cleaner, and I really agree with you.
Of thinking about cleaning, right. There's the anxiety about thinking I need to clean the flat. When am I going to clean the flat? Am I going to do it every 2 weeks? Am I going to do it every week? So that takes up your mental headspace for more than those 2 hours. So these are things that I think about quite regularly because I'm thinking in London it's very expensive to get these things done, but I think it's worth getting them done. Obviously in Mexico it's different because it's so cheap for us. It's a non-decision, isn't it? It's too easy to make. But for me, it's a little bit more. So I'm just going for the lazy
I
option.
mean, we even like in Mexico. I think we have our cleaner, and we pay her. It's 350 pesos, which is probably 15, 16 quid. I think. Don't quote me. The dollar of the pound has changed recently. But she'll do like 4 hours. She'll do all the cleaning. She'll wash all the bed covers, remake the bed, wash all the clothes, hang them up, folds all my socks together, puts them in. Like, and my girlfriend's. It's like incredible. So really happy with that. But like, yeah, it's a no. Like but also it's like I wake up, I carry on working, and then she's finished, and the apartment's clean, amazing, and I can sleep in nice clean sheets. And it's even the sleeping in clean sheets makes me super happy. Like, that's worth it.
And price is all
So,
relative, right?
I still think it's worthwhile, but yeah. Go
Because
live in a cheaper country.
we were talking.
That's the underlying
Yeah,
message people get.
It is that obviously live in a cheap country, but the price is relative. Because like Tom and I were talking before, Gavin was on the podcast because he was late. We were talking. I don't know if you want to talk about it, Tom, but you've signed up for some like extra coaching, right? That's most people would see as very expensive, but you know that you're most likely to get value.
I recently went to an event. Not going to name any names. If anyone's watching the YouTube channel, they might be able to see. And like I paid for their what's known as like yearly mentoring service, and you know it was 25,000. I won't lie, 25,000 US, and that's not cheap. It's really expensive. But interesting enough, the one thing, and by the way, I've been doing coaching with Tony Robbins' company, which is 10,000 a year as well, and I'll continue that. But the question I kind of ask is like if you want to play at a higher level, you've got to invest. You know, like Seth, no, you're not going to share your knowledge for free. Gavin, you don't share it for free. I know that you do coaching, and the idea is you charge, and like that rate you charge at is an agreement whereby if someone's willing to pay that amount, Gavin's happy to share everything that he knows. That's called a win-win. So I think like I want to learn what these people who know, and I'm happy and I think that's I think a price that if they can deliver what they say they are, then I'm going to get way more out of it, and then that's going to be a win-win as well. And hopefully I'll continue doing that for a long time. But but a lot of people would look at that amount of money and be like, that's too much. I can't think that's too much to spend. But again, it's like, by the way, how much I'm spending is nothing. Tony Robbins Inner Circle, I mean, inner Platinum Lions, 250,000. Now those people are doing like 100 million a year. It's a very different equation. And to me, 250,000 right now, yeah, that might be too much. But to someone doing 100 million, no, it's nothing. It's short change. It's a very good ROI.
But there's definitely shysters out there, right? So I, for example, do like to look. I like to watch the fake guru YouTube content, and Gab actually mentioned a video like from a guy called Mike Winnett on that, and I follow his content. And there's definitely people who charge a certain amount for some people and a certain amount for other people, but they're offering exactly the same service, and that sort of stuff worries me. But I know that Tom, you're the sort of person who's probably looking at these things a little bit more diligently and maybe paying for the services that are slightly better. I don't know what your opinions are on this, Gav, but yeah, I just think you want to be a bit more scientific about what you choose.
It's quite interesting when you start watching the Mike Winnick Entrepreneur Bingo. That stuff is actually hilarious too. But then you got Coffeezilla and Spencer. But it's true, there's a lot of courses out there by people who have not lived it or have done it themselves. They just spotted like a market, they go heavy in advertisement and like take a few pictures with some money and Lambo, and then people start buying their stuff. But yeah, as you said, Thomas is obviously the type of guy to diligently look into this kind of stuff. So, but I think spending money on courses is relative to how much money you make. Because as Tom said, in my scenario, I wouldn't spend 25k on a course. But for Tom's situation, it makes sense. Whereas the guy's making 100 plus mil per year, 250k for him is not a great deal of money. It makes sense for him. It's just all about leveling up to the next level.
Can I just jump in? Let's just be like, it's really interesting because like, what do you get? So I won't really talk about what I just signed up for. But do you know what? There's something really, really interesting. I watch Mike Winnett's and I love it. I think it's brilliant. But I've actually chosen to stop watching it. And the reason why I've chosen to stop watching it is because I've realised something about it. Is that I really understand what he's saying, but like in his bingo formula, it's like ends in a 7, willful association. Like what he does, he shows you the sales tricks, doesn't he? But what's really interesting is what we're doing as human beings is we're saying that what's really interesting is so Mike Winnett, he says like bingo. Let's just call it, just say like ends in a 7. So what's really interesting is like now every time I see something which ends in a 7, I immediately jump to entrepreneur. And what's really interesting is like there's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs, but also there's going to be a lot of very good people who have a lot of knowledge who don't, who do end in a 7. And what's really interesting is I'm actually now putting a mental barrier up because I'm watching when it's content and saying every time I see like certain people, even Tony Robbins, for example, I'm like thinking entrepreneur straight away because of what he's saying. Doesn't necessarily mean he is. And, you know, even if Tony Robbins makes me believe in myself and I can do better from it, then I think that's a good thing. So I'm just very mindful. You know, if you know, we talked about it earlier, environment equals destiny. We talked about it previously. The number of 5 people you hang around. If you hang around with people all the time who are talking about everyone's a con, don't believe them, then you'll never believe anyone. But there are good people out there, and I think that's something that's important to be said. Seth, what are your thoughts?
That's where the due diligence comes in.
Well, my thoughts on that was going to be, we were talking about Alex Hormozy, who's just this $100 million 32-year-old, right? And he paid, or his wife bought him a gift of 4 coaching sessions with Grant Cardone for a ridiculous amount of money for each session. I don't know if it was like 10 or 20 grand, something like that.
40,000.
And I was looking at
it was 40,000 for each session.
Okay, it was 40,000. Right. So I think that Grant Cardone is a bit of a entrepreneur. I don't think he necessarily knows as much as people think, and he's more a salesman than like a very intelligent entrepreneur, in my opinion. But Alex Hormozy thought that he got value from the first 2 calls he got from him. I don't think he's done the third or fourth, but he's also put it on his YouTube channel, and people, you know, he's sharing that with everyone. But I don't know what to think of that, but he's obviously a very successful guy, so it concurs with what you just said, Tom. But I would like to say we can probably segue this onto Amazon content quite well with the ending in 9.7 thing. So I think my team and I all set our books at like 9.9. We try to, but obviously we're all using a repricer, which, if for any Amazon noobs watching, we will use an automated software, which, if we set maybe a minimum and a maximum price between our products, then the repricer will follow the competition on Amazon, and it will follow the buy box and set it either at whatever price rule that we want to set it at. So us 3 offline on our Facebook Messenger group, we're talking about reprices and which ones we use and which ones we might use in the future and problems we're having with them. So I don't know if either of you guys want to follow on from there of where to start with reprices, because it's a very in-depth topic, especially for me as a bookseller. But for you guys, it might be slightly different because you're doing regular AOA.
What do we want to talk about in regards to repricing? Like, where are we going with this convo?
If anyone doesn't know, Seth's literally sitting there with his hands above his shoulder going, I don't know. Go on, Seth.
Yeah.
How to choose one to begin with? Like, that's the top question, right? Like, which one should you choose and why?
So you want one which you have control over to a good degree. There's some out there where you just set like a min or a max perhaps, and then you have 0 control. But you always want like conditions. For example, if your stock is back ordered, you want to raise your price to the max price or as high as possible. You don't want to sell back ordered stock or be competing with other sellers when your stock is back ordered, right? That makes no sense. But I think what's important for me as a repricer is most repricers will just price down and down and down. I want a repricer that will also make attempts to push the price back up. So it could be one snooze, it could be multiple snoozes, or it could be, if I have the buy box, try and increase the price by 5% and then see what happens. I think Goara can do that. Goara will increase the price by 5%. You can specify what percentage, but then if you don't keep the buy box, he'll just price back down again. So I think having a good level of control over what's happening and also being able to see the history of the repricing movements is important too.
How many would you try before choosing one that you wanted to use?
I'm quite lazy when it comes to this. If I find one that works, I'll just use that one.
But that's a good answer.
I only move if I feel like something's going wrong.
Yeah, I think the question is like what repricer should you use? The one which does what you think it should do. I.e., like when you look at your product under a listing, you go, oh, like I want the price to go up because we're too cheap, and does it do it? And then we're on back order. Gavin said, does it go up? Or and when there's an FBA seller blow up, we should go down to meet it. Like really, the one that should allow you to do what you'd want to do manually, or it should allow you to do that automatically, with as little to no time at all. That's the one that you should work. So once you found that, then you're happy. And do you know what's really funny? Like the repricer space is pretty well established. It's been around for a very long time. And still we're having this conversation now whereby we're like, the repricer doesn't do what I think it should do, which is hilarious.
I am going to add, customer support is also super important. If you're using a repricer and you get poor support, then God help you. Because if something does go wrong, then you're just in pain and stressed. So
Yeah.
does the owner or does the repricer have a good customer support team where they are competent too?
So what would your customer support
And they
response time,
Go
what
on.
would you want from that? And how, like, what sort of support would you want from them? Just in-depth email replies, or like what does that look like?
It's like, how do you explain it? They know what they're talking about, and you don't wait like a week or just get ignored. Like, ideally, you want a response within the day.
Yeah, I'd say ideally within an hour, and then they can explain to you. They can explain to you in layman's terms what's going on and why you've set it up wrong, to get you what you want.
Yeah.
I think we're slow.
It's awkward silence.
Yeah.
The internet is
my internet's like breaking up quite bad as well.
The internet is very slow for sure. But I think I'm on a similar vein to Gavin when I'm quite lazy with this stuff. So I've had problems in the past with previous reprices or the current one, but I would much rather wait out for a solution, because changing all of my team's processes is going to be a lot of effort. So I don't really want to have to do that. So I like to give the benefit of the doubt, but if push comes to shove and I know that I'm going to be able to improve like my team's efficiencies and performances very quickly, then I will have to change, which I'm thinking about at the moment. But it's a difficult situation. It's not really a price thing. It's definitely it's like a UI
just takes
performance
time
thing. Yeah, and like just I don't know.
The thing is though, if something does go wrong and I don't get a response quick, or it's not quick enough for what I think, or the response isn't helpful, I will just jump ship very quick. Because if you're going to keep growing and the communication with them is that bad, it's only going to get worse. So the loss that you could suffer now from not switching or switching will be a lot greater by continuing with them and continuing to have issues. Because I'd rather have issues when I'm doing the revenue I'm doing now than have bigger issues with the same people when it could have been avoided further down the line.
Right, but it's also easier for you to change. It's like it's easier for you to change your repricer, right, Gav? I think because you've got way less SKUs at the moment, haven't you? Whereas I've got to swap. I've got to swap like 20,000 SKUs. And I know that is just an Excel bulk upload file, but I feel like it's going to be more complicated than that. How many SKUs?
I only got like 700, 800. Way less than 20,000. But I mean, right. So really, but all you got to do is speak, as I said, customer service. Speak to the customer service. How can you do it? Is there a simple solution? And then take it from there. Because you could just disable your current repricer for 1 day, import all the cost of goods, set up the repricing settings, and give it like a 2-day trial and see if things would work out well.
And also,
how much? Question for you: price. How important is price?
Which is free for any newbies, but why not?
No, it doesn't go up.
Yeah, I think reprices need multiple rules that go up. Not just one rule, not just like a snooze. Because if you're only going down on your price, then you're basically losing money. What if there's three FBA sellers, right? Let's say you're selling at $40, there's one other FBA at $40, then the next guy's at $50. When the guy at $40 sells out, then you're the only FBA seller at $40. You want to then match the FBA guy at $50, right? The Amazon repricer won't do that.
Apparently it does. Apparently it does reprice up now.
Really?
I did a review like a month ago. Didn't see it. But Amazon Repricer does compare you versus other retail stores and other suppliers, which I don't like.
I didn't know that. How does that even work?
There's a setting on the Repricer which says, would you like to reprice via Amazon only, or Amazon and other competitor retailers off Amazon?
What, like Walmart?
Yes.
Interesting. Don't think that would apply for me at all, but maybe for you guys.
Amazon's goal, though, is always customer focused. Our goal is money focused. We have different objectives.
Okay, just on a side note, so if I just talk about, so I was in Orlando the other day, and I went and met Amazon Lit. They do 60 million a year now. I met some other guys who they're not as big. They're 20 million on Amazon USA, but they do distribution of 180 million. So they do 207 million for the last 12 months, which is like incredible. But what's really interesting is they literally flew over from like the Amazon Seller Summit and then went to another summit and then came over. And what's very interesting is they said, if whenever you raise a support ticket now, the language has changed. Beforehand, it used to be like, yeah, we'll get back to you. Now it's like the first line they say is, we're really sorry that you've had this problem. We will get back to you as soon as possible. They never used to say that. And what they said was that Amazon are now getting worried because the rise of Walmart. Walmart are now doing third-party distribution. They're now rising. They're taking on a lot of Amazon sellers, and Amazon are worried about it. And they're now starting to care more about the seller. It's really interesting. This is in the US, so be careful. Things are changing.
I didn't get all of that, but I think I got the gist of it, and it sounds good for us, third-party sellers.
Yeah, but we're gonna have new opportunities though with other marketplaces. That's the thing, and this is why Amazon has to change and adapt now, because Amazon has competition, and their competition already has traffic coming into their sites. It's not like they're starting off with like a new Amazon. It's
Well,
like
like
Walmart, for
Walmart, right?
example.
Yeah, Walmart. I'm sure people are making money on that at the moment.
Yeah, I'd imagine the money there would be quite lucrative right now because there won't be a lot of sellers. The competition would be a lot less compared to Amazon. So if you want to like work it out, I'd imagine it's a pretty good opportunity. What
So
I
are you
don't
two
know
not on
is
there or not tempted to? Because they don't sell books, so I'm not there yet.
What, Walmart?
Well, they don't sell used books. So, but yeah, would you, either of you two, be interested, or you're already even looking at it? Or
Not yet. There's still so much money to be made on Amazon. Like we will, but not yet. I think when we get into wholesale on Amazon, yeah, definitely.
yeah, I'm not in a position yet to do that. I need at least 1 year's experience of doing shoes before I can consider like other marketplaces and that kind of stuff. Like I'm
but
just too
can't
fresh to shoes.
but can't you just click on your Amazon settings, multi-fulfillment channel, and you can open yourself up to that, and then if you get an order on Walmart, then you just ship it out via Amazon. So it doesn't sound like it's too much effort to just make
But
that
then I'm doing
switch, right?
FBA, and that's not FBA, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
the
bit
returns
like
would
it's
be
a bit different.
difficult.
Yeah, it's a bit different. Like you've got to have it in. I think where Walmart have their own fulfillment centers, and then like it's not as easy to get accepted onto Walmart as it is Amazon.
No, it's actually really easy now. They've just changed it
Oh,
recently.
really?
Yeah, really easy. They've actually just they
Oh,
sent out an email to me last week. That's why it's kind of been fresh in my head, saying we realised that you tried to apply 3 times last year, and we realised we made it really difficult for you. But now you don't require XYZ information, and now it's very easy for you to join the platform. And I obviously didn't bother because I realised they don't sell used books. But for anyone else who wants to get
Yeah.
involved, apparently it's a lot easier. But obviously that's not necessarily
Gavin,
the top of.
Seth, next year let's start at Walmart, WalmartFBA.com, whatever it is.
WalmartFBA.com. I'll get
Fast,
onto
Walmart
it.
Nomads.
fast track Walmart Nomads. Yeah, damn right, something like that.
Is that
Just
another
do it, like get
podcast
over
channel?
Q4, make some money. Put 10k into it, see what happens. It'd be interesting. 1VA, 10k done.
Maybe, guys, maybe we have to change our channel name to like Arbitrage Nomads. Maybe the channel name is wrong. If
Well, I
we're
think it's
expanding to
it's potentially
Walmart
wrong
next year.
anyway because the Amazon is
Arbitrage
obviously the
Nomads.
big. Amazon's the biggest rainforest in the world, and also there's probably a lot of nomadic people that live in the Amazon. So we're potentially confusing people a little bit,
Okay, that's
right?
some wild ass thoughts, man. Come on.
Is it? Is it that wild?
Yeah. Should we rebrand to Arbitrage Nomads? It makes more sense then.
It's not released yet, so we can definitely do that.
Yeah. Do we have to start selling used cars?
Damn right.
Maybe.
What was the conversation about the staff that we wanted to talk about?
VAs, reprices,
Like VAs and
travel.
stuff.
Well, yeah. Well, we had 2 things on VAs. One was talking about was it hub staff and whether you should monitor your VA screens, and then the second point was I've got a friend who recently got into OA and has hired his first VA, looking to hire the second. The second one's apparently not performing very well after day 2. So then I was chatting to him, talking to him about how, like, when do you make the decision to look elsewhere or maybe sack them, or like what measures would you take? And I'm sure you guys have got a lot of opinions on either of those. So I don't know if you want to start on hub staff or
Okay,
the
let's jump
sacking
into
issue.
hub staff first then.
Okay.
So I think there is a bit of an issue with VAs working for multiple clients right now. And the thing is, like, yes, you want to focus on culture, and you don't want that issue in the first place. But if it's a brand new VA, then you don't really have that trust or the relationship or time to build the culture with the VA. So it could be a hiring problem, but at the end of the day, anyone can like blag their way through a hiring process if they really wanted to. So what I've been thinking is like, I'm a bit against using it, but it would make sense to use it for the first 1 or 2 months for having a VA, just to make sure they're doing what they should be doing. Or you don't use it, and then you watch to see their performance, and maybe you niche them down very specifically, and then just make sure they meet the KPIs. I think a key point of it is to have the right management structure in place, so they've got the right targets, and you're having like weekly support calls or daily support calls to ensure they're meeting the targets.
Yeah, if you didn't want to implement hub staff, how would you think that you could find out if your VA is working another job? Do you think, like, what would the warning signs be?
It takes screenshots. You'll just instantly see it on the screenshots.
No, but what I'm saying
I think
is,
it's like every 3 minutes.
if you thought that was a bit too invasive and you didn't want to give off that culture to your newly hired VAs or people in your team, what would be the warning signs you think that you are being mugged off?
So I don't think it's the easiest thing to find out, but it's like, how many deals are they submitting a day, the good deals, and is everything tanking? Like, if the average profit per VA brings in like $600 per week, and this VA's got the same spend, but it's bringing in like $300 profit per week, there's evidently something wrong. But that's complicated because it depends on like what you're tracking as a business. So it's like, I don't think it's the easiest thing to find out. But having weekly support calls, making sure they're meeting the targets. Because another question to it would be, do you really care if the VA is working for multiple clients, if they're only working for your specific niche and they're meeting your profit and ROI requirements? So that's like a bit of a semantics there to it. But then at the same time, then that kind of like damages your company culture because you're allowing that.
Yeah, that's a curveball because you don't want the rest of your team to disrespect you. But let's let Tom cut in because I'm sure he's got something to say on this.
Come on, Sensei.
That's right. It's interesting. I think like if you're going to look at so we talk about spend and forecasted gross profit, that's fine. I would probably say if the forecasted gross profit, like the spend, the number of deals they're finding is really good to start with, I'd probably be a little bit worried because I think perhaps maybe they are doing what you're saying, because this isn't easy. Like, if it goes really quick, really fast, and like, wow, you look amazing, I'd be like, maybe you're a bit too good. Like, you know what you're doing and you're sharing these deals. Like, there might be small collaboration with them. The other one is that you talked about looking at actual gross profit on the sales and you find the deals are crashing. Agreed, but you are looking about 3 months down the line. It does take time. You know, for me, and obviously we do the Fast Track FBA VA Academy, you know, the biggest indicator is history of, like, have they done multiple jobs? Have they worked in the Amazon world? You know, it's hard. And also, like, where you're hiring them from. You can definitely record. We do actually screen record in the VA Academy for the first 7 days worth of training, and we check it all. Like, we've spotted some very interesting. Like, I think we probably fire maybe one every 2 weeks for like this reason. Like, out of the training, we'll detect it and fire them. I think definitely got to measure the tracking. Let me think. I think coming back to your point, Gavin, is it's like, say for example you're doing shoes, it's very unlikely they're going to have another shoe client, or perhaps, but the way you can kind of test it is to say, okay, next month I want you to move over to electronics, because if they do have another client and the other client might be doing shoes, then all of a sudden you change them to electronics. What you've now done is double their workload. Beforehand they had 5 clients all doing shoes, they shared the same deals, fantastic. If you now move them to electronics, suddenly now it becomes like, oh, I can't do this. And you'll see a lot of and you'll probably see a lot more frustration than what you'd normally expect to see. So I'm guessing like, normally be like, hi sir, yeah, it's really hard, like I'm trying, but please give me some time, that's cool. Whereas someone who's sharing deals, they've got 4 clients who want shoes and now you want electronics, they'd be like, sir, I can't do this is impossible, like I'm really struggling, like you need to change me back to shoes. Like, they'd be a lot more insistent, and then I would probably take that as like a, hey, something's up here. I'm not 100% sure. And then perhaps maybe like I would want to go back and be like, can we do screen recording after that? Maybe I'd make up some fake story like someone else in the business I'm suspecting of, you know, sharing, and I'd have to screen record everyone. And then what I'd want to do is I'd want to see evidence that they've actually found all the deals. Another top tip that I've done it before, we've done it with my company as well, and a lot of our VAs, is just, this is a really cool trick, is make up an excuse that you, like, get them on a screen, say, hey, can we jump on a call? Fantastic. Can you share your screen and record the call, by the way? got to be recording. It's very important. Jump on the call and then get them to do something and be like, oh, hey, can you send me a copy of that? But can you send it through insert social media or insert something here? Skype, WhatsApp, social media, Facebook, Instagram. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get them to load up Skype on their computer right now. Because if all of a sudden they load up Skype right now and it says Thomas Parkinson, me, but then the next person down it says Seth and the next person says Gavin, I'm like, hey, why the fuck are you talking to Seth and Gavin? Because what you'll find is they'll do it by accident because what do you call it? They'll do it by accident because you're having a nice call, they'll open it up and then you'll see it and then they'll quickly shut it down because they'll realise they made a mistake. But you're recording so you can go back and see it, and then what you'll do is you'll be like, and then they'll probably drop off the call, you'll see some kind of behaviour, we've done this before, I've done this investigation, so it's really funny. And then what you do is you get back on the call and then you say, hey, can you go back to your Skype, sir? I think I saw something that I need to question. Obviously I'm waiting for Gavin's name to show up. I'll go back and then all of a sudden Gavin's message has now been deleted. So what I'll do is I'll record that new call and then I'll see that the old call had Gavin's message and the new call, Gavin's message is not there. And then I'll ask the question and they'll make up some excuse and I'll be like, sorry, you're gone. Because you're trying to hide the information. And we've had this. I've literally had this and I've had the girl crying on the phone on the call, but I did exactly that. So yeah, top tip, get them to load up all their different channels. Do it like once a week, a different channel every time, and then voila. Seth, thoughts?
No, that's a very sneaky hint, trick there. But also it's kind of blowing my mind a bit because, as you said, that some VAs won't be in certain categories. I'm pretty sure there's not that many book VAs out there, so I've not really encountered this sort of problem because there's no book deals of sharing because book deals don't exist, right? But good book deals last for 5 to 10 minutes, so there's no way you can be sharing them. And also, the best book deals are only one book at a time. So it's a completely different kettle of fish to what I'm experiencing. So it's hard for me to comment on that. But I was just going to add an aside to that, where you've got a virtual assistant in the Philippines who complains that there's like a typhoon or the internet's cut out and various issues like that, which are very hard to confirm or not confirm, right? So that's always a difficult issue. You don't know whether they're telling the truth or not, and it's very hard to know. So I don't know what your guys' comments on that are, because I don't really feel in a strong enough position to say like you need to freaking like send me the weather reports and in your area and stuff like that. I don't know what to do with that information, as long as it doesn't happen too much, I guess.
So I usually check out of curiosity because I'm like, what the heck? There's a super typhoon there. There was just recently. I'm like, that's just absolutely bonkers. So I check not because I want to make sure they're working, but just because I'm curious, like, what the heck is happening in the Philippines? It just sounds mental. But so my concern, though, in terms of like what we've said so far, in terms of the advice for like seeing if your VAs work for multiple people, is that this is quite advanced level advice that we're giving here. So someone who's brand new to management and they're like, oh, it's like their first VA, the chances of them like doing this type of stuff or knowing how to do this type of stuff is very slim. So in these scenarios, would hub staff be the recommendation?
No,
because it gives the customer no.
Well, I don't know. I'll give you an example. Last year, when I was first hiring my first 3 staff, I hired a 4th staff member, and she kept making the same mistake twice. Well, she like 3 times she made the same mistake twice, and it was just kind of simple things of like she couldn't paste special just the values only of an ACE into a cell, and like she had to do it like 2 or 3 times, and it just it got on my nerves because I like a tidy spreadsheet, but also I just felt that she didn't really care about the job. Maybe she had another client, maybe she had other things going on, but I just felt like there was a neglect of, she just didn't work for Seth's books, right? So I made the executive decision to get rid of her because I just didn't think that she cared. But I don't know if you guys have anything like that. Would be my newbie advice to give. You go on certain things like that. It was a bit of an intuition thing as well. But yeah, if you don't want to pay for hub staff, or you don't want to do that sort of thing. That's
harder to find though when it comes to sourcing. Like that's very like specific, because typically you use like a SAS export now. So like VAs don't really enter much criteria into spreadsheets. They'll put the source URL and that's almost all of it done.
But it
But
wasn't
yeah,
just that. That's just me giving an example. But she
No,
did a
okay.
yeah.
few different things where she made the same mistake twice, and all she did was say, "Sorry, Seth, I won't do it again." But then she did it again. It was like 2 or 3 different things. I can't remember now. It's just that particularly irked me, so that's why I remember that one. But it was a couple of things, and that made me think.
She didn't
I
care.
do not want to keep her. Yeah, she didn't care. I don't want to keep her long term. She doesn't want to be a part of this business for longer than 3 to 6 months. This is just a stopgap for her. That was my signal. That was my intuition given that. But I don't know if you guys have had anything similar, like any examples to give as well, because I think that is useful for people to hear, because it's a tough topic, right?
I've had it so many times, but I'm too lenient. I don't get ready. I don't fire them quick enough. I think that's my issue. But I think that's starting to change as you get more experience. Like that leniency where you start by like overly nice. Ah, it's fine. They do it 8 times in a row. Now it's like, okay, you done it 3 times in a row. Okay, goodbye. I think a lot of that does come down to experience.
Yeah, you get like the more experience you get, the more like you're just. I think the real question is be very clear about the goals, be very clear about the expectations, give them a chance, and then also like make it very, very clear. Like so, say for example, look, when they start, you've got 3 chances. I'm going to explain something to you 3 times, and then if you do it 3 times, you're gone. Like I won't lie, it's just 3 times. So when it happens the first time, you're like, cool, don't do this again. They're like, sorry, I won't do it again. Second time it happens, you say, hey, look, I've seen this. It's the second time it happening. I'm not going to lie to you. If it happens again, you are gone. What's the rule? And what you want is on that very last call when you're about to fire them, you say, why are we here? And you go, what did you do? What am I going to do? Would you like to resign or shall I fire you? That's it. Because and then what's really interesting is it's actually not about that VA. It's about all the other VAs in your team. Because there's a saying in business, you get what you tolerate. And what's really interesting is when your other team members know that it's 3 strikes and you're gone, like they'll be like, don't say anything, because Sir Seth is going to get rid of them. One more time, watch it. Oh, and they're gone, fine. Whereas if they're like, Sir Seth doesn't do anything, like you can do whatever the hell you like, he doesn't fire anyone, it's impossible. Like if someone took 2 months off and they weren't fired, then they'd be like, that's what you're tolerating and that's the culture of your company. But I think, even coming back to Seth's point, is about like the feeling. You're talking about like the sale, and that was just an example. But I think one of the most important things that most people forget about at the very fundamental level, regardless of everything you said, is do this. Get your VA on a call every single day, cameras on, cannot quote that enough, cameras on, have a conversation, not tell them, like, here's the thing, if they are saying yes sir or no sir, that's not a conversation, that's an order. Like, but you don't understand. You're like, why did you do this? Tell me about that. It's like what, when, how, why. You should have a lot of conversation. It should be 50-50, not yes sir, no sir, and Tom talks a lot more, but it's 50-50. And it's that conversation which will tell you whether they care or not. Like, and they'll be like, okay, yeah, no, sorry, I did this, or like, no, I don't think you're right. And it's a feeling, and don't worry, sometimes you can't quantify it, but it is a feeling. But you can only get that feeling whether you're having a conversation or not. And I think that's the most important thing. Basic, step number 1, cameras on, have a conversation every day for the first, at least month, 100%, every day, 1 hour, done. Back to Seth.
So yeah, the 2 takeaways there. No, the 2 takeaways there are: you've got to build a rapport with your team. You've got to get them to like you, because otherwise they're not necessarily going to work with you. Secondly, putting systems in place so that the rest of the team know you're not going to tolerate any bullshit. And then I'm going to put a third thing in, which Tom, you told me last year when I did decide to get rid of this VA, was you were saying it's really good to get on that post job interview and ask them what I did wrong, or what the team did wrong, or what the initiation process didn't work for you that caused this situation to happen. And I think that's really important, because then you learn so much from that. I don't know if you've got anything else to add there, Gav.
Do that as well. Even if they're stealing, even if they're sharing deals, have that debrief. Like, hey, look, I'm sorry to let you go, but what did we do wrong? How can we detect this? How can we do it better in the future? Because what's really funny is once you've let people go, they're generally quite honest, because they know they've got nothing to lose. You learn so much. Go on, Gav.
100%. Debrief is super important, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything that's been said. I'm still saying, for a very new, experienced person with their first VA, it's going to take time for them to learn these sorts of skills and to get confidence doing this kind of stuff as well. So it's maybe I would still recommend hub staff the first 1 to 2 months, depending on where their VA comes from. Because these days, there's a lot of hiring from Facebook, that kind of stuff.
Can I do a shameless plug? There's a really good...
Go
So, shameless plug. Get your first VA from the Fast Track FBA VA Academy. And why do I say this? Like, regardless of the fact that we find, hire and train and support you for 12 weeks after, it's not a problem. But there's one thing that we do. We have a weekly support call and a community of people who have VAs. And you can ask these questions. And by the way, my HR manager, she's the ex-HR business partner for Pepsi Cola. She helps all of our Amazon sellers. She knows all this. She's seen it all before. She's Filipino. She understands the culture. And if you have worries about your VA, like, I think they're sharing or I think they don't care, then you can talk about that. That's really simple. But like, join us. It's really, really important.
And you can also join the Facebook group, right? You can also join the Facebook group that I've got a lot of value from. I've asked a ton of questions on, and everyone in there is super helpful, wanting to help everyone else out. So yeah, even though you've done a shameless plug, I'm seconding your plug because it's worked for me and I've got value from it.
And that makes sense, because if you're new to VA and you want a VA but you have no experience, you can either go through the entire process yourself or get some hand-holding through that. And then in the future, you can start learning how to hire yourself from that point. But like, for your shameless plug, like, I joined one of your support calls actually, and it was super useful for me. So it's like, having someone to ask about these kinds of questions is like just extremely useful, because having your first VA is pretty nervous and daunting at first, but it's simpler than it seems. But like, having someone to help makes a world of difference.
And also as well, the other things I'd say is, number one, you get it for life, but number two is the fact that there are a large number of people who will share you their opinion online through Facebook groups or Twitter or Instagram or whatever about what you should do with your VA when you have a problem, and they're coming from a position of they don't actually have a bloody VA, or they've never had a VA. And it's like, how can you give advice when you don't even do it yourself? Like, I see this time and time again, at least in the community in the Facebook group, you know, that everyone's got a VA, they're running through it, and they've got experience. That's the point, you know. Don't go and ask someone who hasn't got experience. That's just the road to fucking failure. So yeah, that's my top tip. And hashtag shameless plug.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably a good time to end this podcast. We've been going 45 minutes. We've hit the topics we wanted to hit, with a few other asides that maybe people might not have been as interested in. But I don't know if you guys agree on that.
Yeah,
that's good. I think we're also having internet problems as well. It is.
We all have internet problems. Finished. Yeah.
All having a beer.
Nomad lifestyle, internet problems. What you got, Seth? Is that gin?
Yeah, I'm not drinking urine, just for anyone watching. It looks a bit...
I'm being the good guy here. Beer. I have an apple.
Whatever. Cider being brewed.
Cider. I wish we had cider in Mexico, but there's no cider. It's so bad.
No, I know where you are. There's a little place just down the road. Literally, just come out the corridor, go straight down the road. Like, don't turn left, kind of walk out the front door. You kind of got to go on the main road, down there on the left-hand side, probably about 20 metres. There's a bar. We've been there before, twice, Seth. Oh, Gavin, sorry. We've been there with Seth as well. They do cider there.
Oh, my God.
Like I'm missing out.
Can you send me the name, please? Yeah.
No, I don't know. It's just down the road.
Okay. Well, anyway, thanks everybody for tuning into this. Oh, that's the outro ruined. You can do the outro next time. It's your turn.
All right. I just want to say, first things first, I just want to say thank you so much for everyone for tuning in, for listening. Obviously, hope you're really enjoying the podcast. If you are, give us a big like. And obviously, do make sure you hit the subscribe button or like follow or whatever. And obviously, you have the ability to comment. Do drop a comment down below. Perhaps maybe like something that you liked, take away, or perhaps maybe some topics for conversation you'd like us to talk about next time. Obviously, we can certainly do that. We are pre-recording some. But also as well, I just want to say a really big thank you to Seth and Gavin for spending their time to obviously have the conversation and share as well. Obviously a lot of knowledge, hopefully learning here, and it's really nice to share and obviously enjoy and catch up as we travel around the world building our businesses. So hashtag excited. Hopefully I'd like to have one where we're all together in Thailand one day. Would be amazing. But
Let's do it. I should be there end of October. Let's go, guys. Soon.
I'm keen for that. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I'm up for that potentially. We'll see. But signing off. We'll chat next week.
Cheers, guys. Peace out. Bye bye.
Bye bye.